Cowherd, can your buddy Baker Mayfield really change the culture in Cleveland?
No, because I think it's totally unfair. Tom Brady wouldn't change the culture without a great owner and Bill Belichick. You can't ask players to change cultures, okay? You find me a great all-time quarterback with an average GM. Oh, Troy Aikman had Jimmy Johnson, and Joe Montana had Bill Walsh. Who's Brady? Big Ben. This idea that a quarterback comes in, the GM's an idiot, and the coach can't coach, and he's just going to take over the league, doesn't work that way. This is a dysfunctional organization. Do I think Baker can win a bunch of games? Absolutely. There's no question. He's a nice quarterback. I think his ceiling's lower than everybody. He's not Drew Brees. He's not going to be Russell Wilson. True. But this idea that, hey, Baker, hey, you change all the dysfunction for 10 years. It doesn't work that way. Drew Brees works in New Orleans because of Sean Payton. And by the way, Mickey, the GM. Mickey Loomis had a draft 2 years ago where he found like 9 guys who can play in college. So it takes a village.
All right, I'll half agree with you. I don't think Baker can do it this year. But if Hugh Jackson gets dusted, if they struggle out of the gate and he's gone by Halloween, I firmly believe John Dorsey, the new GM, will look for a coach to fit Baker Mayfield. I don't know if he's going to go for his guy Lincoln Riley, Baker's college football coach, but Baker Mayfield's tied to the GM. Okay, you pick Baker Mayfield, number one. You have to get him a head coach.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't work out this year, I do believe maybe Baker has a chance down the road. I'm not as sold on him as a lot of other people, but perhaps you are, Rod.
Well, no. The thing is, look, you got a new GM there. They had the first and the fourth pick in the draft. I think it's going to be there. Look, that Cleveland fan base isn't dysfunctional. That's like the best fan base. They love football. They're starving for something. They got the first and the fourth pick. Awesome. All right, who do you get? Barkley and that Josh Allen kid? Can they get a do-over? Because that's what they should have done. Look, I don't see the redeeming quality of Baker Mayfield. I don't. Look, at Josh Allen, he's got the gigantic arm. Barkley, he makes unbelievable plays outside on the perimeter. I don't see it. And if you're going to take the first player in the draft, you need a franchise guy.
Yeah.
All right, look, the first year I never saw it in Goff. Well, I did, to your point, when he got a new coach. Yeah. All right, he got McVay. I get it. And, so it'll be interesting to see what this kid can do. The redeeming qualities, 50% completions in the preseason's not going to, wow you. And one of them maybe been down the field past 10 yards because the first out route he threw in last preseason game should have been picked because he has no arm strength. He should have hit the cutoff man. But I don't see it there. I don't think this team's as dysfunctional as people think. They've got a ton of talent on that offense. And on defense, all they do is have first-rounders all over the place, Myles Garrett included. I mean, they should be pretty darn good. They got, I think with Tyrod Taylor, they're going to prove they're not dysfunctional. And but if they put this kid in, they're going to be dysfunctional.
Well, I don't agree with either one of you guys because, I had Baker Mayfield as my best quarterback coming out. I'm glad they took him where they took him. The only thing as far as the draft that I would like them see them do different is take Barkley first. And then they could have came back and got Baker Mayfield if that's the guy that they wanted. Because I don't think the other guys at 2 and 3 liked him that much that they would have taken him. So they could have pulled a coup, if you will. The good thing for Baker is that he doesn't have to be good this year because they got Tyrod Taylor. And he is the only quarterback that you'll ever hear me say, because I don't believe that you draft quarterbacks in the top 10 and don't play them. If you take them in the top 10, the message that you're sending is they're NFL ready now. Right. So you put them on the field, and if you got a bad team, you let them grow with the rest of the players until you get to a point where you can win. The same issues you're going to be facing in year 2 are going to be facing you in year 1. So you might as well put the guy in and let him grow. But they made the decision before the draft to go with Tyrod, gave him the title as the starter, and no matter who they picked was going to be the guy that's going to sit behind him. He's learning the game. So, 50% completion in the preseason, that you kind of expect that. But the thing I like about him is he has some intangibles that you can't teach, okay? He's a competitor. You might have to rein him in a little bit, but he's a competitor. You can't inject that into a player, okay? There's a stat that I saw that 70% of the passes in the NFL are 20 yards or less, okay? And the good quarterbacks, they complete somewhere around 72 to 73% of them. This kid last year, he completed 75% of his passes at 20 yards or less. So don't tell me he can't play in the NFL.
That's Big 12.
Doesn't matter.
They play Arena League defense.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Once he understands defenses, once he gets the pre-snap stuff, and he understands where he's supposed to go with the ball, when he's supposed to go, and there's no indecision, he's able to do it. And the other aspect that he brings is that when it all breaks down, he can ad-lib, and he's going to compete. He's going to compete.
I do trust the NFL to fix the issue. I just think it's going to take a little bit longer than everybody's going to be comfortable with, just because of the way the rule was implemented. Normally, a rule like this, you vet it out, you look at tape, you meet with the Players Association at the Combine. None of that happened. The league meeting, they had a privileged session with head coaches and ownership. They presented health and safety data, and the next day, they're voting on this rule. And I think now we're playing catch-up.
Yeah, here's my takeaway where I think it's unfair to offensive players or defensive players is that, let's say it's 3rd and 2. You're in the flat. I toss it out to a running back who weighs 240. He's got an 8-yard head start, and he puts his head down. An arm tackle, he gets the first down. This sport is about me as an offensive guy picking up first downs and you as a defense getting me off the field. In these short yardage situations where an offensive player runs toward me, arm tackles get nothing accomplished. So I think it's completely unfair. I think defensive players now feel like we don't get paid the most, we don't get the endorsements, we don't get the love, and now forget the over the secondary stuff. Where does a line, look at these, what is a corner and a linebacker supposed to do there?
Can I be optimistic here, be a ray of sunshine? I think they're just calling it tight in the preseason to let people know, hey, we're going to call it. But come the regular season, they're not going to be calling this stuff. They just can't. You know how the game would be slowed down by minutes significantly? And in the era of distracted fans, when we've got cell phones and they got video games, you can't slow a game down with 15 penalties on the defense. It's just not going to work.
There's no question. I mean, that's what they're doing. Yeah. And that's no different than any other emphasis foul where the officials are directed, when in question, throw the flag. We'll put together some tape, and we'll get it right by the start of the regular season.
But that sounds good. But when it's come to the anthem, the catch rule, domestic violence, they've not been quick. I love the NFL. They don't solve their problems.
Progress is glacial at times.
They are slow to change their mind.
I do not trust that the NFL will fix this. I understand and respect why they're trying to do this, but the game of football is played and meant to be played a certain way.
Yeah.
And you can't deviate that far away from it. My biggest problem with this is the rule says it's a foul if a player lowers his head. It doesn't say a defensive player or offensive player or a special teams player. But I would challenge everybody up here to go and look through the first 2 preseason games, 32 games, and show me a tape where one offensive player has been called for this foul.
Yeah.
They've all been called on the defensive side of the ball. And what it's leading to is that, we're evolving into this pity-pat, lay on each other type of game on the defensive side of the ball, where the offense is allowed to, knowing where they're going, knowing what the snap count is, to play the game at a fast pace. And as a defensive player, I've got to be cognizant of everything. Listen, football's a game of leverage. And coaches have always told us the low man always wins. So if a running back is barreling at me 100%, and I got to come up and I got to make a tackle, and he starts to lower his center of gravity, that means I've got to lower mine to match. Okay? If I don't, then he's going to run me over and keep running. I'm going to be the butt of the jokes Monday morning in the film session, and he's going to score, and the coach is going to be looking at me like, what the heck was that? The way the game is played, it's impossible. Richard Sherman is correct. It's impossible. Now, I get it. If a guy comes up and he launches himself and tries to strike with the crown of the helmet, absolutely. I believe that we're one generation of football players away from getting this right, because I've always taught my young kids, strike with the face mask.
Right.
Back in the day, you used to see, linebackers and safeties with these big necks, because they would strike with the face mask, and that required that they engage those neck muscles and it accomplishes 2 things. You see what you're hitting,
right,
and you take away concussions, neck injuries, and all those types of things. But they want you to completely take your head out of football. That doesn't work, because if a guy's got momentum, the getting across the bow, getting across the guy to stop his momentum, that's how you do that. And there's no other way around that.